that was, appreciate the words. It is, you guys don't know, or maybe you do in your own personal setting, on just how important it is to have somebody that you know that you have your back at work, right? And somebody's going to be with you. So, but we'll get into and talk about Lorraine and when we bring her up in a few minutes. But again, it is just an honor. I'm choked up. It's not me, it's you. About having this opportunity, right? And I hope you allow us some grace as we go through this weekend and since we started, a couple of days ago when we got here. But brothers and sisters and family members, my name is Leonard Aguilar, and I am the president of the Texas AFL-CIO, and I want to welcome you to our 2026 COPE Convention here in Georgetown, Texas. As I always do, for those of y'all that have heard me, it's something I do every time. And before we get too far along, I always got to make sure I got to ground myself and I got to center myself, because I need to thank my family. I need to thank my family because, like I've said it before, without them, I would not be standing here without their support and their help. So I hope each of you take a moment to remember, those who are important to you and those that have helped you get to this point. We've all had somebody, if it's a family member, if it's a coworker, if it's a friend, that has helped us get better and helped us succeed and helped us to continue to move. And that's something that we need to just remember, and because it's difficult. The jobs that we have are hard. The jobs that we have are demanding. And to be able to have that support, not everybody does, but those of you that do, don't forget, take that minute. Take that minute in the morning. Take that minute when you're starting out or whenever you do it during the day. Think back of why. Think back of those that are there that are helping you and supporting you, because they are doing a lot themselves to make sure you are able to do what you do. So like I said, we know the work is demanding. Let's not forget about those and that give us this opportunity. Another group of folks we can't forget about is we can't forget about the hotel workers here, right? The folks that are taking the food, the hotel, the restaurant, the folks that are taking care of the rooms, the folks at the front desk. Let's make sure and take care of them and acknowledge the work that they're doing. Again, we need to be grateful and have some gratitude for the work that they're doing while we're here in Georgetown at this very nice hotel. I also want to take a moment to thank my union. For those of y'all that don't know, I'm a member of the United Association of Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. That's where I started. That's where I started my journey. And that's where I got my start as an apprentice. We're actually a pre-apprentice, then got into the apprenticeship, went through that space, which wasn't just a straight line. Took a little bit of maneuvering to get through, because nothing is perfect and nothing is ever easy. We always make it hard. But I worked my way up through the ranks, and in that union, the UA, for as difficult as it was, for the issues that were in front of me, for the obstacles that were placed in front of me, I still wouldn't change anything, because it gave me the opportunity to be here in front of you today. So to the UA, to the Southwest Pipe Trades, to the organization that has helped me get here, I appreciate the UA and the Pipe Trades for what they've done to allow me to get to this space again and give me the opportunity. Today's a special day because this is the first time our new Secretary-Treasurer, Lorraine Montemayor, and I are before you in our new role as President and Secretary-Treasurer since our swearing in last December 2nd. So like Lorraine said, this is just next level. This is so important to us. And it is a very special day that I'm never going to forget, because this is our first convention, the first of many, we hope. So I hope all, the main thing is I hope all of y'all will kind of take it easy on us as we're going through this. Because even though we've been around for a little bit, this is in the new roles. It's always kind of different when you get a different role. So take it easy on us as we're going through the weekend. We are going to make sure that we get everything figured out and we are moving forward in a positive way. So with that, I just want to check with you real quick. How many of you guys are excited for the convention itself and the opportunity to be with your brothers and sisters from across the state? It's a great opportunity. I always say it's a great opportunity. It's great to be in these spaces here. It's great to be in the rooms here like this. These are great. It's awesome. I mean, for a minute. Then, backside starts to hurt and you got to go walk around and get a cup of coffee or something. But in taking every opportunity that we can, last night we had our new member orientation, the folks that had never been to a conference before, a convention. And we had we had a session for them at 7 o'clock last night. And it was so good to be able to talk with folks that had never been through the process. We were able to explain, what the Texas AFL-CIO is, what COPE is, how we come together, the reasons we come together. It was at a 30,000-foot view. It was not very detailed, but it gave kind of an overview of what it is and why we do what we do. And what was so good about it, and for me anyway, was just the questions and the interactions. Having folks that are asking questions. What about this? Why does this happen? How come we have this? Why is that? That's how we're going to learn, is off the education, when we're talking to each other. So yes, these spots are great here, and it's great to sit with the folks that you know, because everybody's sitting with somebody that they know with their district for the most part, or how it's setting out. But let's take an opportunity, when we're out of the rooms, let's try to go find somebody that we don't know. Let's introduce ourselves to each other. Let us widen our circles. Let us make our net bigger. Let us make our reach larger. Because the experiences that we have independently are awesome, but when we are able to combine, when we are able to come together and just talk about what's happening, because what's happening in South Texas might not be the things that are happening in North Texas, and from East Texas to West Texas, and everywhere in between. So let's find time when we're out in the hallways, when we're out getting a coffee or just walking around here, let's find somebody new that we can talk to, somebody new that we can introduce ourselves to. Let us grow our networks and grow our circles. And with that, as we're doing the convention space and working through the COPE Convention, the biggest thing that we're having this afternoon is going to be the debate. And how many folks are looking forward to the debate? I know I am. I know everybody that I've talked to about that is the biggest reason that they're here. Obviously, they're here to see myself and they're here to see Lorraine. But the second biggest reason is because they're here for that debate. And I want to thank the Texas AFL-CIO. For the work that they have done. I am so proud of the work that they have done. The team at the Texas AFL-CIO has put so much work and has done so much to put this together. And we are so proud of the convention that we have. We hope that you guys are going to be proud of it as well. But we hope that you guys enjoy the product that we have here. We can all agree it's not going to be easy, and we might not agree on everything. But the one thing we need to be is united. We need to be united as we go through the process of our COPE Convention. And I want us to think a little bit. I want us to think a little bit about the word and the moment of being united. Think about being united, what united really means. Right now, our members, our families, and our communities need us more than ever. And the first way we can address that need is for the labor movement in Texas, which is this room, the labor movement in Texas, to be united for all of our work, for all of our struggles, for all of our members. We set the tone. The unity that we have coming out of this convention sets the tone on how we move forward. Like Joe said when he was up here speaking, and like Representative Busey said, I mean, we have folks, we have candidates that are knocking at the door, pounding at the door to get these endorsements. Because you have that power. Your members have that power. Everybody realizes that labor, that the working people of Texas are the backbone. They are the important piece. They are going to decide this election as we move forward. We always talk about solidarity, and I have to tell you right now, we need it to be a reality. We can't just talk about it. We need to be about it. We can all see what's going on around us, and I think we can all agree that every time we wake up or we take a break, when we're looking at social media or we're looking at the news, we can see that things aren't in good shape right now. There are a lot of problems that are out there, a lot of issues that we're facing, a lot of issues that the working people of Texas are facing. So much anger and hate, so much finger pointing that does nothing but put working people against each other. Why? Why? Why are we putting working people against each other? Why are we doing that? We shouldn't be doing that. We should all be focusing on the real root of the problem. That's the billionaires and the big corporations. They are the reason. They are the reason. They are the reason things are so divided, because they use the power and the influence that they have. They use that at every political level. It doesn't matter what level. If it's a local level, it's a state level, it's a federal level. At every level of power, every level of political power, they use their influence to ensure that those elected do their bidding. Those elected only care about those big corporations and those billionaires, which isn't right. because we are the people, we are the majority. This is why we're here, and this is why we have named our convention Workers Over Billionaires, because we have to figure out who we're fighting. It is not each other, and we need to stop fighting each other. We need to stop pointing the finger at the other group. It is that group of people, that small group that owns all the wealth, that has all the power over our electeds. It is plain as day, and it is simple as that. So as we go through this weekend, let us not forget why we are here. Again, to unite. That is why we are here. We are to unite in this fight, to show up for every single worker in our state. Being united, not just for our members, because when we lift our members and we protect our members, we're protecting every worker in the state of Texas. It could have been a little bit better, but that's all right. But I want to appreciate it. Let me take a drink real quick, because I'm nervous. But I want to thank you again. I want to thank you for the work that you have done up to this point. All the long nights, all the meetings, the processes that you have gone through for your local endorsements. I want to thank you for that, because that is a thankless job. You have your regular job, you're running your local, you're doing your work, then you have to go take care of endorsements. Doesn't matter if it's happening in Houston, Texas, doesn't matter if it's happening up in DFW, doesn't matter if it's over in El Paso and Austin, anywhere you go. Everybody across the state of Texas is in here, everybody that's taken part of that process, we want to thank you, because it is allowing us to do the work here this weekend. Without your work, we can't do our work as a Texas AFL-CIO. So please give yourselves a round of applause, and thank you very much for the work that you guys are doing. It is so valuable and so important. Think about this, when we leave here, we'll have an endorsed list of candidates that each of us has helped shape. We will all have had influence in shaping that list of candidates that we are going to endorse. And it's going to be a list that we can be proud of, because we've all had a piece, we've all had a part in shaping that. Throughout this conference, we have the opportunity to explore a wide range of topics. There's going to be an opportunity to engage in discussion like I talked about earlier. Let's find new people to talk to. Let's get their perspective. Let's broaden our horizon. Let's figure out how people are doing it in different parts of the state. It's going to allow us to participate in workshops that we're going to have going through the rest of the weekend here, as we're here. It's going to help us sharpen our skills, because for us to do that, we have to get out of our shells. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We're going to have to go have that conversation with other members, with other unions, and figure out where we have the common ground. Because we all started this work for one reason. When we all started our journey, it was for one reason. As we take the training and the education that we get here, we need to remember that we still have a responsibility. It's not just come to the convention. It's not just go to the conference. We have a responsibility to take what we've learned here and take it back to our locals. That is where we have a disconnect a lot of times. We come here, we get together, the camaraderie. We don't see people for a while. We get together every so often. We drink some beers, we share a meal, we break bread. It's great, we'll see you later. And we don't talk about anything we did here back with our home local. And then we wonder why we can't get participation from our affiliates, from our members. The communication, it needs to be improved. And that's why I'm asking, is as we're here, take what we have learned here and take it back to the locals. Some of you do a better job than others, but we can all do better. We can all do better as we're communicating with our locals, as we're communicating with our members, as we're communicating with our central labor councils, as we're communicating with our building trades councils, as we're communicating with our electeds. Because without the communication, we're not going to get anywhere. We're expecting them to come to us. They're expecting us to go to them. We're expecting everybody to understand what labor is. And I got to be honest with you, I've been in this space for a long time. And I'm still learning new things every single day about all the different unions that are out there. We don't do a very good job of telling our story to the general public. And we don't do a very good job of telling our story to our own members. Again, we have a certain core group. We talk to the same certain core group for the most part. And it's a matter of getting out of that comfort zone. Because in a time when working people are facing rising costs, shrinking rights, and unstable economics, our unity is not just valuable, Our unity is essential. Our unity is essential because, like I said earlier, this is a time where, we are on the verge. We cannot just focus on our shop alone, on our local union alone. Yes, I understand. Your union, that is home. That is the brand. That's who you're riding for. That's who you're working for. But we have to also take a look at the communities that we are a part of. We have to take a look at our members because all the stuff that you see happening out there right now is affecting our membership. Each union is being affected by the majority of the stuff that we're seeing on TV right now. We all have members that are being affected. And that's something we have to come to a realization about. We have to admit that. And the sooner we do that, the better we're going to be. And at the heart of that unity lies understanding. That's what political education gives us. It gives us the knowledge to see the bigger picture and the power to shape our own destiny. We can shape our own destiny. We can chart our own path. We can control all that. It's a matter of just pushing a little bit harder and putting a little bit more effort into bringing more people into the fold. This is why we talk about the importance of having union members running for office, rank and file members running for office, because we often get into the conversation. We love the electeds. They're great. They talk great. They mention worker. They support. They're a good vote. Right now we have an opportunity. We have candidates that are rank and file union members that we need to get behind. We have those candidates that are there that if we're not taking care of this business right now, then what are we doing? Because we, again, like I said just a minute ago, we have the opportunity to chart our own path, shape our own destiny. And that's an incredible feeling when you have that power. And when we realize that power, that is something that is not going to be able to be stopped. That's why the Texas AFL-CIO is investing in supporting rank and file union members running for office, because we know the benefits from we know who benefits from the current system. We also know who loses, and we can help change that together. We can help change that system together by electing, by making sure we get those rank and file union members into office. I get excited every time we talk about that, every time we see that opportunity. When we see union members, doesn't matter what office that it is in the state of Texas. We have union members running for city council members. We have union members running for different local offices. We have union members running for state offices. We have statewide offices. To be able to have that impact across the board, that is powerful, and we shouldn't waste it. When we look back on the wins that we have had over the years, they weren't won by sitting on the sidelines. None of those things that we gained in the past, all those rights that we have, that workers have, that labor has, they weren't won by sitting on the sidelines. They were won by members who were stepping up in solidarity because they were in unity. They were united on the issue. They came together because workers needed a voice, and it didn't matter what worker it was. Workers needed the protection, and they came together, and that's how this all started many years ago. Workers saw that there was an issue. Didn't matter what the issue was. It didn't matter if it was wages. It didn't matter if it was workplace safety or any other worker protections. It was done with members who did not sit silent. They didn't stay silent when they saw the injustice. And I think we can all agree right now we are seeing injustice happen day in and day out. Is that something that we can agree on, that we're seeing that every day? And what are we doing about it? We are organizing, yes we are, but we can do better, and we need to do better. They did what was right. They stood up. They stood up for all workers. They stood up for all workers, and they took action. And it's a time for us to join together in unity, to take action now, because our communities and our members need us. I'm gonna tell you a little story real quick about what happened to me the other day. Driving the same path to work every day, taking a back road so I'm not on 35 and getting into Austin. Road I've taken for the last 5 years, getting to the office. And we're at a stoplight. And it was the entrance to the sheriff's station, precinct, and the commissioner's office. You know what I mean? Office building there. This is 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning as I'm going to work. Dark, can't see anything, but we're at the stoplight, line of cars. 2 police cars, I guess they were sheriff's cars, lit up. Headlights. They were sitting there in the dark. And there, it was perfect. I'm this way, both of them are here, and they lit up. Headlights came on, all their flashing lights came on. To some of you, it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get a ticket, or oh shit, I was speeding, or oh shit, you know, something to that effect. To me, it's like, oh shit, I'm getting picked up. I'm getting disappeared. That was my initial thought. I didn't think that it was a traffic violation. I didn't think that it was anything to do with a citation of any sort. My initial thought was, I'm not gonna make it home to see my family. And I'm not the only one going through that. I'm sure some of you have faced that, and a majority of you don't have to worry about that. And I'm jealous that you don't have to worry about that. But imagine those of us that do. My initial thought was, I'm not gonna see my wife. I'm not gonna see my kids anymore. I'm not gonna know where I'm going. I'm not gonna know where I'm gonna end up. They are picking me up, like every time we turn on the news, every time we open our social media, and we see how they're taking people and people are getting gone. That was my thought. My heart sank. I reached for my phone to turn on my camera, or first to call to let them know, you know, in those seconds, in that minute, and then to turn on my camera to try to document whatever it is. That might not set or register for some of y'all, and maybe it does, and for some of y'all it might. But how is that right? How is that right to live? And that, in my heart, that is fear that I have. Fear that when my kids are going to school, as they leave, is that gonna happen to them? It's not right. And it's an injustice that we're talking about. That's just one example of injustice. That's one example that I went through. And I'm sure there's a million different stories. And we have a dozen locals that we have been contacted about that have had members that have gone through that situation. But not just in the way I did, they've actually had interaction. They've actually been picked up. They've actually been sent to detention centers. Our union members from the UA, our union members from IBW, our union members from the OPEIU, Office Professional Workers, our union members from United Food and Commercial Workers. The list goes on and on. This is affecting our union members right now. So when are we going to do something? When are we going to stand up? When are we going to get those electeds that are going to do something and have a backbone and stand up? Because if it's affecting me, if it's affecting one member of your local union, then it's affecting all of us. We all have members that this is affecting. But whether it's protecting our members or even getting into the different things that are happening around like AI, we have a whole new set of challenges that we have to deal with. As we're fighting these new attacks on labor, we always need to be smart enough to see the other ways that they are trying to divide us. Again, the finger pointing. They're trying to divide us. They're trying to scare us, dividing us on other issues. They're dividing us on race. They're dividing us on gender, or just a couple of the other ways that they're going to try to divide us, when we should be focusing on those billionaires that are dividing us. It is not the workers that are having the issues. It is the billionaires that don't have enough. They keep wanting more. That's who has a problem. Because they're going to continue to try to divide us. And we need to be better than that. Because when we are together, we are unstoppable, like I said. When we are together, we are unstoppable. So I ask each of you, don't let this be another conference. Don't let it be another one where we get together, we break bread, we go have a drink, we see each other, we pat on the back, it's great to see you. See you again in a few months. Let this convention be your commitment to unity. I beg you. Let this convention be your commitment to unity. How can we get better? How can we be better united moving forward? Because again, our members, our families, our communities need this. Start conversations in your workplace. Mentor a new member. Question the system that keeps workers struggling. But first, pay $25. Question the system that keeps workers struggling. And then let's just imagine what that can do. Imagine the future that we can build together. We can do that together. We are that powerful. We are that strong. Independently, each and every one of your organizations are monsters. They are powerful. But when we come together, they're going to be even that much more powerful, and it's going to be scary when we get to that point. When all workers educate each other, when we support each other, and when we organize, we become unstoppable for our unions, our members, and our communities. Because the one thing that we all have in common is our labor. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you call home in our state. Our labor connects us all. Each and every one of us gets up every day to go to work, to provide for our families, to be able to retire with dignity and respect, to be able to go home safe at the end of the day. Our labor connects us all across this state of Texas. Again, my name is Leonard Aguilar, and I'm proud to be the new president of the Texas AFL-CIO. As we look ahead, let us remember that our union is not just an organization. This is a movement. This is an opportunity, a movement that is built on the foundation of solidarity, justice, equality for all. A movement that thrives because of the connections we make with one another. So let's not let these opportunities just pass. Let's be intentional about the work that we have to do, the conversations that we have to have, what has to happen next. Because again, our members, we have members that are being affected, not just by the stuff that I talked about, the personal experience, rising costs, economics that aren't easy. There are so many different things that are affecting our members, and we can do better. So I thank you for allowing me to address you and talk to you about what we see as the COPE Convention and the opportunity that we have. Now I get to return the favor to introduce our next speaker. When Rick came up to me and told me that he was going to be stepping down, it was both exciting, surprise, yeah, let's go, and then thought about it for a minute. I was like, oh my God, no. You think you're ready to go, but Rick is helped lay this foundation and helped lay this path for myself and so many others. And one of those other individuals that he's helped lay a path for and help clear a path is for Lorraine. And Lorraine is one of those special individuals that changes a room. She is one of those individuals. If you do not know her, please go up to her and introduce yourself, because if you don't, she's gonna go get you. She is one of those individuals that I've known over the years, and I've got to see her work when she was with the Dallas Central Labor Council, and got to see just the amount of work, the effort, the pride. And again, yes, the work is important, but it is the why we're doing the work. And her why, the members, the affiliates, not just of her own union, but of all labor, is second to none. The drive that she has, the commitment that she has, and just there are special people in this world, and this is one of them. She is somebody that will put it on the line for each and every one of you. And when I first approached her about this, and we had that first conversation at that, when we first sat down and had that conversation, it didn't go so well because I kind of stumbled through it. But she helped me work through it, and we got through that point. And we're here now. And for all the work that she's done in the past, for all the work that she has been doing at the Texas AFL in her time there after leaving the Dallas Central Labor Council, seen nothing but growth, seen nothing but just wanting to help and lift other union members and lift other team members. And that's just going to continue. And I am so proud and I'm so lucky and I'm so honored to be able to have Lorraine running with me in this journey as a AFL-CIO, because we're just getting started, and more importantly, she's just getting started. And she's got a long way to go, and it's going to be awesome to see the path that we have together and how we continue after that. I'm very honored, I'm very humbled to be able to introduce the next speaker, which is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Texas AFL-CIO, Lorraine Montemayor.
I think I'm done. I can just say, hey, I'm here. Let's get to work. Let's shoulder up. Let's get in those trenches. For our members, thank you, President Aguilar, for that sweet introduction and the flooding of memories of, yes, the stumbling of the ask and me being like, so this is where I say yes? Okay. So it was a great moment to just go back in time for a little bit. Again, good morning. How are we feeling? All right, Union Familia, that's how I like to hear it. I am so deeply honored to stand before you today as your Secretary-Treasurer of the Texas AFL-CIO. Because this moment is not about me. It is about what this movement can do for working people and what we can accomplish when we lift one another up. I know firsthand the grind and the fight it takes to create opportunity. I grew up on the east side of San Antonio, where nothing was handed to you and every door had to be pushed open. My family worked hard for everything we had. My mother was a school cafeteria worker and a union member. My father was an immigrant laborer. I didn't grow up talking about unions as an abstract. I grew up learning one hard truth. Workers without unions will always be at the mercy of those with power. I learned that truth at the kitchen table. A union was why my mother had health insurance. A union was why she didn't have to work when she was sick. A union was why she had dignity in retirement. And without a union, my father had none of those protections. As the daughter of a union member, I will always be grateful for the local union victories in San Antonio ISD. So shout out to San Antonio Alliance. I see you out in the crowd. And also to Texas AFT. That's right, show them some love. Back in 2007, when I returned back home, my first gig out of college was at the University of Texas Health Science Center. Like many people in this room, I believe that myth that state jobs were just, cushy, stress-free. Quickly did I learn that that could not have been further from the truth. My coworkers and I used to joke about forced overtime and how our workplace was not always safe. And eventually, I realized this was not funny. We needed a union, and eventually, I realized it wasn't enough to talk about it. I had to be about it. So I joined the Texas State Employees Union CWA Local 6186. Shout out. That union taught me how power actually works, where it lives, who holds it, and how working people can build it together. It taught me how elected officials impact our day-to-day lives, and it taught me how to ask coworkers to take a stand instead of waiting on the sidelines hoping things changed. Before our grant ran out, not only did we have the majority of our union organized, we established an organizing committee and would table our worksite weekly. So thank you, TSCU CWA, for giving me that strong foundation. And for those of you who may not know, they hold the model for organizing in non-contract unions and universities across the state. CWA is where I learned about true unionism. Unionism that adapts, is focused on winning, and welcomes everyone. Unionism that doesn't just play defense, but goes on the offense. Unionism that invests in organizing, trains leaders, builds real solidarity, and fights back. Because let's face it, we have to. We don't have the luxury of waiting for Texas to turn blue. When I was asked to step up and take on this role, it was multiple asks. Because I knew these are scary times, that our movement is hurting, and we are up against forces that don't play by the rules. Forces that are well-funded, well-organized, and determined to divide us. But that truth doesn't discourage me, because despite how hard this moment is, despite how heavy the world feels right now, our opponents have no idea how much power is in this room, and they forget something important. We have been here before. Look at our convention theme, which side are you on? That question comes from a song written in 1932 by Florence Reese. Her husband, a union organizer, was beaten, hunted down by company-hired goons. One night, armed men kicked in her door while she was home alone with her children. Florence Reese later said this: masked men shoved their guns into closets, into beds, and even into a pile of dirty laundry. One of her little girls began to cry, and the men said, "What are you crying for? We're not here for you, we're here for your old man." After that, it is when Florence Reese was so outraged, she tore off a calendar of the wall and began to write the words of, "Which side are you on?" That question still confronts us today. These fights are not new. We are built for this moment. Our movement, our union movement, is the power of the collective. It is how we win, because it's within this collective that we find community, we find strength, and solidarity. It's where we share our struggles and unlock our power to bring justice to our work sites and our communities. I believe this with everything that I have. We are the vehicle for economic justice. We can break generational poverty. We can absolutely fight this new form of fascism, both in the White House and Governor's Mansion. But inspiration alone is not enough. So, here's what I'm asking from all of us in this room. That we organize where we live, that we show up when it's uncomfortable, and that we treat every election, every organizing drive, and every contract fight like it matters, because it does. Now, we also have to be honest about the reality around us. Like President Aguilar talked about, ICE raids are happening in our communities. Union members are being detained. Voting rights are under attack. Not somewhere far away. Let's not forget what happened last session, but right here in our backyard. Public education and working families are being targeted by reckless policies that threaten our future. Everyday decisions are being made without the regard of our lives or our livelihoods. This is our reality. So we have to ask ourselves some hard questions. How are we fighting? Are our programs meeting this moment? Are we showing up for each other when it matters most? And are we adapting to these times? Can I get an amen? Can I get a recall back? Awesome. Because as we work through these questions at this COPE convention, I want to remind everyone of this. Our enemy is not sitting across from us in this room. We are a union family. And if you know me, you know I mean that literally. Many of you have become my chosen family. Half the people at my daughter's quinceañera were from this same exact room. My kids have union aunts, uncles, and cousins all across the state. But being a union family doesn't mean avoiding hard conversations. And it doesn't mean lowering expectations. And it doesn't mean walking away when the work gets tough. Being a union family means we stay at the table. We hold each other accountable, and we move forward together. So when we leave here, we leave united. I want to close with the words of Mother Jones, spoken at a convention just like this in 1913. She said, I want you to pledge to yourselves in this convention to stand as one solid army against the foes of human labor, until work is safe and human life is valued more than profit. So I ask you today, can we make that pledge together? Can we stand united, move forward as one solid army, and fight for the dignity of working people everywhere? Well, my name is Lorraine Montemayor, and I am so proud to serve as your Secretary-Treasurer of the AFL-CIO. Thank you very much for your time. Let's keep fighting. Muchísimas gracias. Sí se puede. Yes.
Can we get a photo?
Absolutely.
Come on.
Okay.
Take a picture.
We're gonna take a photo. Okay.
It'll be a minute.
I know. I hope no. 1 second. Let's see. Okay. Up next, we are going to be having a conversation with union members who are stepping up and running for office. This is the work that is coming out of a resolution that was passed at the Constitutional Convention this past summer that was entitled Recruiting and Equipping and Empowering Union Members to Run for Office. It is what spearheaded and drove the work of our political department and our leadership development program to craft up that curriculum, reach out to many of you in this room to bring forth individuals who are wanting to step up and get into that next level of their leadership journey. Because we can no longer settle for the lesser of two evils in politics, and we must develop a new generation of elected officials. So with that being said, we're gonna bring up Jeremy Hendricks, Jose, who is running for candidate State House of House District 50, Jose Loya, running for candidate of Land Commissioner, Kyle Rabb, who is our candidate for Congressional District 19. And we're gonna hop right into it. Let me go ahead and grab a seat. Okay, is this on? Okay. Whew. This is exciting times. How are y'all feeling? Good. Y'all are good?
Excited.
Excited?
Energized. Having a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, I know I said your name and the districts y'all are running for. And before we hop into our conversation about your experiences, what brought you to this juncture in your leadership journeys, we want to just go ahead and open it up, and y'all can introduce yourselves. Let us know what unions you're representing, and we'll take it from there. Sound good? Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeremy Hendricks. I know a lot of you in the room. I'm a 17-year member of the Laborers International Union, where I serve as Assistant Business Manager and our Legislative Political Director, and appreciate being here today.
Thank you. Yeah, give it up. Layuna.
My name's Jose Loya. I'm with United Steelworkers District 13 here in Texas. I'm a staff representative. I represent people from Dumas, Texas, up in the Panhandle, all the way to McAllen, Corpus Christi, San Antonio, parts of Oklahoma. Been with the Steelworkers for 8 years, representing people all over and veterans all over the United States.
Thank you.
These two gentlemen are much cooler than me. My name is Kyle Rabel, and I'm running to be the congressman for CD19. I'm in the CWA 6186, or Texas State Employees Union. I signed my card in August of 2021, so I'm a little bit younger in the union force.
Cool. This is super exciting times, right? We are wielding our power. We are empowering union members to run for office and step into that, to bring back, to begin governing policies that are gonna lift up our workers across the state of Texas. So thank y'all for embarking on this journey and having this conversation. So let's get started. We would love to know, like, what inspired you to take this step? And we can popcorn style it, and folks can just chime in and answer. So
I'm happy to go first. Having done this type of work in politics and legislative work at every level of government for the last 17 years, I was tired of being fucking disappointed in our elected officials. Excuse my language.
no excuse needed.
And time after time, we have to re-educate and re-educate our so-called friends in the legislature and other places. And it's time that we have more rank and file, union leaders, folks that actually know what workers are struggling and going through. And that was really, you know, after a lot of encouragement, I never thought I would do this, to be honest with you, because it's not an easy job. State rep doesn't pay well, so you're not doing it for the money. And in these conditions that we're, you know, in right now in America, though, we've got to have people that are willing to fight and step up and take on these assholes. So that's why I did it.
Love it.
Well, in short, very short, the reason I'm running is Rick Levy. Y'all might know him in here, but I'm not a politician. Never thought I'd be here. This is still super nerve-wracking for me. It's completely different. Every step is different. But I had the opportunity to speak with Senator Bernie Sanders this a couple of months ago, and Rick called me and said, "Hey, got a crazy question for you." I said, "Rick, I'm a military veteran, spent 13 years in the oil and gas field, and been a staff rep for the last 8 years. I bet I heard crazier questions." He said, "No, this is crazy." I said, "Shoot." He said, "I want you to speak with Senator Bernie Sanders." I said, "That might be the craziest question I've ever heard." And we got to talking after that, and we're at a point in our life, not only our life, but the life of this country, where we can decide we keep doing the same thing and getting the same results, or we can step up, take control, and represent the working people. And I'm not a politician. I'm a working person. I'm an immigrant. I'm a veteran. I'm a oil refinery worker. I'm a staff representative. I'm a father. I'm a husband. And the reason I'm doing it is for the same reason I joined the United States Marine Corps, because I felt a duty to fight for this country, even when I wasn't a citizen. But I'm at that point right now where I feel like it's my duty to step up and make sure this country, the country that I came to, the greatest country in the world, continues to be the greatest country in the world, and my kids and my grandkids and everybody here gets the same opportunity that I get and gets to live the American dream, which is what I'm living right now.
Woo! Thank you for sharing a piece of your why. We appreciate that. That was beautiful.
Man, I have to keep going after these guys. So it starts with, in 2023, Tyler, wherever you are, had called me and asked me if I wanted to go speak on bills at the State House as a state employees union member. And it was, if you guys remember, the anti-DEI bills and the anti-tenure bills. That was a really long day. I flew in the morning because they started at 9 a.m., but I don't think I spoke until like 2 or 3 a.m. the next day. But I spoke at those hearings and explained that DEI was actually really good, because I myself am also a veteran and still in the Army. And the VA is kind of like a DEI thing, right? It gave us a step up to get to where we are, the 9/11 bill, all of that. And tenure is important because it protects professors, right? It's really important. And then after I say those things and saying how important it is that we have diversity and protections, my own chancellor at the time, not the one now, Brandon Creighton, but the one at the time, came up after me each time and said, "We don't need the DEI or tenure." Well, that was a damn lie. And so I got back and I had to go do a month-long Army training, and then I got really involved in my local county party. Somehow they elected a 29-year-old, or I was 28-year-old, to be the county secretary for the party. And I started organizing block walks, all of that stuff. And then we got our asses kicked in 24. And I woke up the next morning, my wife was pregnant and I was mildly hungover, and I said, "I think we need to do something bigger and better." And then I heard Representative Arrington, who's my current representative, he's retiring after this session, talk. And I said, "Well, that can't be that hard of a job. He doesn't sound that smart. I can do that, right?" And so we decided that we were going to launch this, and we had my son, and it became logical that I have to fight for the biggest position and find as many people to run with me as I could. And we've done that in West Texas. We're running people in West Texas. I mean, that doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So we decided we were going to run on a labor message, because I'm a labor guy. And so we're here fist fighting with folks. And I told one of the Republicans the other night, I said, "I'm going to bring the full force of labor, and we're going to punch you right in the damn jaw. And you're going to have to go and sit back down."
Loving the energy from all of y'all. I'm going to kick it back over to Jeremy, because you talked about how you were just fed up with how politicians or electeds are, what they are doing or not doing, right? So what difference can a candidate with a union background make in office?
Clearly, we come from a different perspective. As I said a moment ago, we have to go back and re-educate. And if So I'll give an example of where education worked. Yesterday, if you got to hear Gina Hinojosa speak at the e-board meeting or at the building trades meeting where I come from, she talked about the fact that long ago at a school board meeting that a lot of folks in this room from the trades and from other allies and other labor unions, ASME, et cetera, stood in a room till 2 or 3 in the morning fighting over whether Austin Independent School District should scrap Davis-Bacon prevailing wages or not. We did a lot of education on Gina, and the 5 votes that we got, it was a 5-4 vote. Luckily, here we are 15 years later, and she's still fighting for Davis-Bacons. That's like the dream way to do it, right? You educated them, they keep fighting, they're your go-to. But that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
That's in the legislature, that's a 1 in 1,000 kind of deal. And that's at every level. That's whether you're looking at the city council, school board. So absolutely that having to re-educate people over and over is what got me to this point. But I know that these guys and other union candidates out there running wake up every morning thinking about how to make life better for working folks. We've walked picket lines, we've negotiated contracts for better wages and safer working conditions. And unfortunately, we are still living in the most dangerous state for workers. More deaths, more injuries, more wage theft, more misclassification, more all the things that make it hard to be a worker in Texas. And the fact that we can't present that as a nonpartisan issue when people are dying every day and actually get some shit done to protect workers and actually increase wages and safety on the job site, I think we just bring a different perspective coming from labor, and that will be baked into every single decision that we make. Every single thing that we pass, every law has to have at least a somewhat worker-centric view to make sure that we're doing good for the people that we represent. So.
No, absolutely. I love how you made a direct line of your current work as within LIUNA and how you have been around various elected officials lobbying for various policies and how that just seamlessly led you into a House position or to run for the Texas House. Jose, what is land commissioner and how did you decide that's the district I want to put myself behind?
Well, land commissioner is the best kept secret in Texas. Land commissioner is a huge office that nobody knows about. It's actually the oldest office in government in Texas. It takes care of public land. It leases public land. Revenues from that go into fund public education. All the public education in Texas gets a big part of its funding from this office. And it also takes care of disaster relief. It takes care of the whole coast. And the thing that really got me interested in this office at first was a Veterans Land Board. I'm very involved in veteran outreach and been helping veterans for a long time now get disability and help them navigate through all that. That's what really got me interested. I didn't know anything about this office other than a little bit about the Texas Veterans Land Board, and I was looking for a loan for a couple of acres, and a friend told me, he said, hey, look into the Veterans Land Board. I said, what is that? So I found it online, still didn't make no connection. I got a loan through them. Well, when this office came up, I realized that nobody knows about this office, and it's such an important office. Less than 7% of Texas veterans take advantage of this program that's by Texas for Texas veterans, and it's a disservice. It's kept in the dark by design, though. If nobody knows what you're supposed to be doing, nobody can hold you accountable. And that's what they want this office to be, a stepping stone into higher politics. I want to use it the same way as my military service. I want to get in, do my time, make some good changes, put in a good place, and hopefully next guy comes up and continues to do the same thing.
No, I appreciate you sharing with folks that your passion is the population of veterans and how that was your driving force or how it led you to come into running for land commissioner, because I believe many of us have not only just our networks here in our union or the specific sector that we organize for, but we also have other networks or other pockets in our communities that can maybe help us decide, you know what, I should probably seek this district or go into this level of government because it aligns with my your personal why or just your passions and stuff like that. So thank y'all so much for sharing a bit for us to understand why. What is your why? Why are y'all doing this? What led y'all to the crazy idea of saying, yes, sign me up, gonna go ahead and run for office. But now let's transition a bit over to understanding the issues that y'all are bringing forth through your campaigns, right? What are some of your top priorities or issues you want to focus on your campaign? We'll start off with Kyle and let everybody just talk a bit about that.
Yeah, in an unsurprising turn of events, my campaign is completely focused on the working class, right? That would make a lot of sense as a union person. One of the biggest problems in West Texas is the lack of rural health care. And because our sitting congressman was the designer of the One Big Beautiful Bill, he will directly close 6 rural hospitals in our district. For example, the women of Big Spring have to drive an hour and a half north to Lubbock to see an OBGYN.
That's insane.
They could die. To give birth, you have to come to Lubbock in Big Spring. So you have to plan your birth. If anyone's ever given birth or been the partner of someone giving birth, it doesn't always happen that way.
Nope.
So I want to fully fund things that are logical. You want to help regular people. All of my campaign is making sure that the working class can thrive. And there's a little bit about farmers and ranching in there because we are the largest cotton patch in the world. But the whole focus is that the workers need to be represented, and you need to fully fund Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the VA. We're cutting 30,000 more members of workers in the VA. Lubbock is the only VA for 33,000 veterans in my district. They have to drive 2 hours to get there. We have to work on these things, and that's what I'm bringing, is an understanding of what real-life people deal with in West Texas, because unlike any of the Republicans running in that race, I actually live in West Texas all the time. And I sit there and I watch what happens. I watch farms close. I watch unions struggle to gain membership in meetings because you feel defeated. So we're going to instead reinvest, expand access, and fight like hell.
Woo! Yes. Thank you for that insight on West Texas. Yeah. Jose.
So the biggest thing that I want to bring to this office is transparency and availability. Like I said, nobody realizes what this office does, and if you have a kid in school, if you pay property taxes, if you have a veteran in your family or know a veteran, or if you've ever been through disaster relief, I mean, we get fires, we get tornadoes, we get floods, we get hurricanes. This office affects everybody, and nobody knows how much this office can help. I want to maximize the resources to make sure they meet the needs of Texas, because the land belongs to Texans, and it should help us. It should help everybody in Texas. So I want to make sure that I make this office available. I want to make sure that all the work that's being done on public land is from union members. I want to make sure that our education, especially with this voucher scam that they did, that they're going to pull from our public education funds and put it into private. I want to make sure that until we can get people like us, like y'all in office, and we can repeal that voucher scam, I want to make sure that our schools, our public schools, where kids depend on on breakfast and lunch for their only guaranteed meals, get that money. And I want to make sure that disaster relief goes to the people that actually need it, not the communities that are politically aligned with this office, and make sure that those affected, unlike what's happening in Houston, that there's still lawsuits from Hurricane Harvey because people didn't get that support. So I want to make sure that everything is transparent, available, and is going to the right place.
Appreciate you sharing your priorities. And it's lovely to it was an educational moment for me too, just the cornerstone of public education within the land commissioner and how that ties. And so thank you for sharing that. Jeremy,
when I decided to run for office, the AFL made it really easy in this regard because I just kind of copied the Fair Shot Texas platform.
Okay,
I mean,
let's
that's what
keep it
it's
real.
all about. I mean,
Yeah.
I talk about it every day from my first stump speech on. Folks deserve a fair shot, a seat at the table, and a Texas that actually works for regular folks. House District 50, it's central, northeast Austin, and a little bit of Pflugerville, Wells Branch, so not far, just south of here. That district is a working class district, but it's also got one of the highest concentrations of state employees, one of the highest concentrations of teachers, so it's also very educated. So when I'm on the doors, I'm hearing the same thing over and over, and even though Dementia Don says affordability is fake, it's not. Absolutely, it's about food prices rising, it's about healthcare costs rising, it's about not being able to afford rent and their mortgage, especially in Austin. And so those bread and butter table issues is what absolutely is hitting home. And it comes very easy, I think, for all of us because this is what we do every single day. We fight for higher wages, save job sites, and to make sure that folks have an actual voice in this system that is really screwed up right now.
Absolutely.
And needs some common sense and more labor.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we have clarified a bit of your vision and your priorities as y'all are going down this path of campaigning, let's now discuss how you actually started your campaign. Let's get into the nuts and bolts, right? What is it going to take for folks who are out in this audience contemplating the realities of putting together a campaign and getting that organized? So we'll go ahead and kick it off to Jeremy. What has been the first steps you've taken to launch your campaign, and what surprises have you come across in just getting started?
So I had a decent amount of lead time because we were all patiently waiting to see what James Tallarico was going to do. And so, you know, for a while we thought he was running for governor and then U.S. Senate, but he's the one that currently holds House District 50. So in that lead time, I started making a lot of phone calls. And whether you work in politics and the legislative side directly or not, your union does. Your union is there every day supporting candidates, giving money. We're showing up and volunteering. So that's where I started. Who's every single elected official that our union has supported? And it's not a tit for tat kind of deal, but if there are real friends and they want to stand with labor and they want to take our support after decades, then we should be willing to ask them for their support. Now, some of them were chicken shit, to be honest with you.
Hey, let's keep it real.
But I did end up with over 100 elected officials that endorsed me and that I rolled out with first day of the campaign, which made a huge difference because in an open seat, I'm pretty confident that scared off a few people that would have made it a heck of a lot harder to run in that race. And so that was definitely the first thing I did. I know not everybody can do that, but still, even if you're not directly dealing with those politicians, someone in your union is. So if you make this decision, get that list. Don't be afraid to call them. Don't be afraid to call them a second time and a third time until they pick up, and actually put them on the spot. Yes or no, because they absolutely do that with us when it comes to asking for checks. So that's the first thing I did. Also, really the first thing, okay, I lied. The first thing you do is go talk to your spouse or significant other. And I've got my beautiful wife, Lynn, here, who's also a leader in Liuna, and I could not do this without her. We sat down and had a long conversation, but she keeps me on task, she keeps me organized, she's amazing. And but that's the first step. Now, what was the biggest surprise? Honestly, something, and this isn't an attack on the AFL or unions or anyone, but as we move forward in this process of encouraging more and more rank and file union leaders to run, we've got to build a better infrastructure to support those candidates. Because as you all know, like I know how the Liuna process works, but every single union's different. Every single union handles endorsements, checks, whether you can come to their union meetings or not, whether they give at the city level, the county level, the state or federal level. And so figuring that out and navigating that, I think for all of us, has been a little difficult, even for me who kind of does legislative political work all the time and knows a lot of these people. So I think we can do better in the future as far as just building that infrastructure, because if you're involved with the Democratic Party, which I hope you are, we should all be precinct chairs so that we can change that organization too and make it better. But there's no infrastructure there to help candidates.
Got it.
Especially if you're in a primary. It is a hands-off, good luck to you, buddy, mentality. And so having that infrastructure internally, I think, would be great in the future.
No, yeah, and I definitely want to tease out a bit of what you said, right? And I think that is part of the genesis of why the Texas AFL-CIO created the labor candidate school. And unfortunately, none of y'all were able to attend because y'all have already filed, and we wanted to be in compliance with that. But it is using the Texas AFL-CIO, it's acknowledging where we can create stronger infrastructure and ensure that folks that are wanting to run really truly know the process, what are the different networks, how do you go ahead and start just shifting your organizer hat in a different way, right? It's like an organizing campaign, you got to go find out who are your threes and who are your ones. Where do you go and ask money? How do you wield the power of the coalitions within your central labor councils? How do you go and just have conversations with folks and other affiliates to say, what is the deeply felt issue that your members are feeling, to go ahead and start building out your platform? You went straight to our Fair Shout agenda. That is another thing that many of the people in the room can go ahead and look at and see how that aligns with the priorities of your community and the office that you're running for. So thank you for bringing this into the conversation, because it's definitely something that we want to get ahead of as more and more, because I hope after today's panel, we'll have an influx of individuals who are like, yes, sign me up, I'm ready to throw down at any level of government, whether that's the ISD, city council, or headed up to the congressional races. So let's keep talking a little bit more about some other surprises or nuts and bolts that may come up as y'all are heading into this campaign. Kyle, any lessons you've learned thus far?
Yeah, and I think I was talking about this with Bobby Cole, but the fact that you definitely need to manage your caffeine intake when you're running. My campaign manager always says he's got 3 jobs, and the first one is to keep me married, and the second one is to keep me alive. The third one is for me to win. But really one of the things I've learned, because I'm running in such a rural district, in such a red district, is that you know, as a union person, you tend to have thick skin anyway, so you can take a lot, but you have to have the ability to wash your brain, because there are going to be people that tell you, yeah, you're wrong, even though you're an expert in thinking about how working people live their lives, because you are that. You have to really understand the fact that some of these people are afraid of having the D vote. They're afraid of voting for someone that is wearing the color blue or anything like that. But instead, you have to really think about what you have to do every day, and that's smile and tell them, I understand what you're doing. I understand why you don't think the Democratic Party's it. I have to be honest, I always don't know either. But I do know that I am a union member, and I know what my union supports and stands for, and that's 99% of what the Democratic platform is, so that's what I am. So every day I have to wake up and make sure that I understand and say to myself, I've got to be the union worker first, I got to be the union guy first, and then it's normally a dad because my son wakes up at 3 a.m., and then it's that. And then it's, oh, right, yeah, I'm running a political campaign. Those are the hardest things. And then the phone calls that you kind of get, and we were talking about that earlier backstage, the phone calls when you're talking to people and they just hang up on you. Or, no, I'm not going to talk to you. You're in a position you're not going to win. And I go, well, I can if you would just give me 5 more seconds of your time. Those are things that, you know, if you're going to run, they're tough, but you can do it because you spend all day negotiating contracts and convincing workers to sign up, and that's hard work. In comparison, running could be easier than that.
No, I love how you brought it back to that analogy of like some of the skills that we are all currently doing for our members within our affiliates and our locals is just transferable and whatnot. And also too, just to remind folks that yes, some of our priorities may be in alignment with a particular party, but like we are in the business of like separating that apart and being like workers first, labor first. Let's get our message out, because we cannot be pitted against each other, or you know, continue to do what we've been doing. And so this is our path of like trying to get more of us into that space to wield the power differently. Jose, I know it has been expressed by your other two panelists that they had to ensure that they get support from their partners. I hope you automatically went there. Hopefully you didn't have the pitfall as Jeremy, but, and what support are you receiving as you are going through the nuts and bolts of building out a campaign?
I've been very, very impressed. I've realized that labor is ready, that labor wants a change, and we're not just talking about it anymore, we're actually doing it.
Yeah.
I've gotten support from, my district director, Larry Birchfield, to all the way through United Steelworkers, to the top, to all the presidents, and everybody that's around me has been very great. It's amazing to see that labor is alive in Texas, and it's going to grow, and we're ready to take control of our own destinies, and we're ready to fight in a different way, not just for the contracts that we negotiate, but we're ready to fight for our lives right now, and that's been awesome to see.
No, that's great. Kyle, yes, shout out. Kyle, Jeremy, do y'all want to chime in? How are y'all getting your own unions involved or rank and file members involved? What kind of support are y'all receiving?
All of the building trades, honestly. I mean, obviously, Leonard has been very supportive, and thank you to Matt Gonzalez, my local business manager, and Lynn, my wife, who also works for the local, for all their support. But the building trades in general, that's where I come from. That's where I got a lot of support off when I first kicked off this campaign. So, on job sites, we may fight over jurisdiction and all the things, but when it comes to running this race, the plumbers, the electricians, and others were the first to step up and say, we want one of our own. We want somebody from labor, somebody that understands our trades issues. And so definitely have appreciated that. Obviously, the first thing is we need volunteers. We need people to make phone calls. We need people to knock doors, which is absolutely true. And we're doing a lot of that. But making sure that I also show up, engage, listen, and actually act on what I hear. And so I've really enjoyed most going to local union meetings for other locals because, we know the leaders, we know the folks that come to these conventions, but meeting those rank and file members who don't always agree with everybody in this room. Some of the toughest questions I've got were at a elevator, constructors meeting, and he was a Trumpster through and through. But engaging, listening, and showing those folks that you are willing to show up, and we may not agree, but what we can agree on, that you need higher wages and you need a safe job site, and there are things that we can move forward together on.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kyle, anything you want to add?
Again, Tyler and Rose field text messages from me randomly throughout the month every time because I just get overwhelmed and I have to think out loud. But when it comes to my locals, for specifically CWA locals, they weren't friendly. It's West Texas, guys. It's a completely different animal. If you aren't from out there, I'd recommend you come out there, stand in a little bit of wind, chew on some dust, and you'd figure it out a little bit. But I went into them, and I just told them what I am. I'm a brother. So let's talk about what you guys want to talk about. Wages, safety, all of that stuff. And, I talked to the local president for 6202 just last night because I asked if he was going to be here, and he couldn't make it. And he goes, brother, these guys were red, and the other day they said, we're all voting for Kyle. It takes sitting there and having that conversation. Woo! It takes doing the same thing when the federal government shut down and I was spending $200 or $300 of my own money a week. By the way, I did not have that. That credit card bill is still there. But these workers down in Big Spring are AFGE, and they're the Big Spring Prison Bureau. And I made sure that they had food and toilet paper along with a couple other Democrats from Lubbock. And they are wearing Kyle Rabel pins into work. That union also would have been straight up a red union, and it's not anymore. It takes you going into these places you normally aren't at. Sean, if you're in here, I know you are, from Smart Local 49. He's one of the first people I talked to when I started to run. Awesome. And he brought me in and he goes, all right, let's talk about it. And I sat down with Roy and him and we talked about what we were gonna do for West Texas and Lubbock. It's a fist fight, and it's been great to do though, because it's seeing unions that maybe never seen a politician talk to them, especially in West Texas, go, well, shit, if Kyle's gonna do it, I guess we're going to throw behind him because he's one of us.
Yeah, what a huge testament of when you center our labor values and priorities within your campaign, how that influences and empowers and garner support from various individuals who we might have potentially thought they weren't going to go ahead and get behind you. So that is incredible and to hear. So let's end with folks sharing out advice for other union members considering running for office. So we'll go ahead and just popcorn style this question. What advice would you give to other rank and file union members thinking about running for office? Who wants to?
I'll go first.
You go first?
It's super simple, everybody. Fucking do it.
Okay, yeah.
Right now, you can still file for your local school boards, your city councils, your mayors, a whole litany of things. You should walk out today, go and look at your county election headquarters or call your city hall and throw your name down on that list. And then you go ahead and you turn your union, hey, I need some money. And then you run, because there's no reason. It doesn't even matter if there's already someone you slightly align with. I guarantee you they're not a union worker. And it should be us leading this country. We're the ones that know what things cost. We're the ones that know that formula is through the roof, that diapers cost more than they should. We're the ones that know this stuff. So just get out there and fucking do it. Woo!
Jose, did you know you were ready to do this, or how did you overcome that whole question of like how to know when you're ready to step in?
I'm still asking myself that question sometimes.
Love the honesty. Let's keep it real.
Yeah. No, honestly, you're ready. You're ready because of your experience. You're ready because of your actual lived experience. The biggest misconception that I've seen stepping into this has been, you don't have to have a law degree to do this. You don't have to walk.
Right.
You don't have to walk around in a suit every day to do this. Unfortunately, that's what they've put out there in front of us and say, no, that's untouchable. You can't never be one of these people because you're a worker. You don't have the capacity, you don't have the ability to do this. You are ready. We need people that are real people, that have your best interest, and unfortunately, some of these positions make it really hard for regular people to work, to do this. I'm still working at least 40 hours, sometimes a lot more, driving 80,000 miles a year just for my job. That's not even campaigning.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but it's doable. And you are the person that can make the change that's needed. So if you're thinking about it, grab one of us. Grab somebody that's ran. Don't grab the politicians, the lifelong politicians that have been there forever, because they're going to say, no, you can't. This is our turf. Grab somebody real. Talk to your union leaders. Talk to real people and have that conversation. I encourage everybody to get involved. We will help. Your unions will help. And we're changing things. We're changing things, and we're going to make it more available for everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate you breaking the mold of what we think traditional elected officials should look like or be like, because we got to change that up. Jeremy, over to you.
So I'll add a little bit to what they both said. First off, if you think you're not qualified, experienced, etc., none of these assholes that run are. First off, they're
True,
not. There's
true.
no training to be the president. There's no training to be a congressperson. There's no training. It's an on-the-job experience. But here's what I do know. You're all Texas labor leaders. That's the hardest fucking job in the country.
Amen.
We fight.
Amen.
Yeah, give yourselves a round of
Yes.
applause. Because we have to fight every day and scrape and scratch every day for every penny we get for our workers, every safety thing we get. It's all a fight. And so you already have that experience, because that is what you're going to probably encounter in Texas politics. You asked it earlier, know why you're running. And I think that's what a lot of people put their name on the ballot, not from labor, but others, and you ask them, why are you running? They don't have a good reason. We have a good reason, every single one of you, because people are hurting, we know how to fix it, and we know how to fight and get the job done. So the other thing I'll say is start early. If you're afraid to go put your name on the ballot, go put your name in for a local board or commission. Serve on some committee on the school board. Serve on some committee at the city. That's where I started, on a construction advisory committee long ago, where really it had existed for decades and never done a damn thing. But we took that little bitty committee over with labor and the building trades and workers' defense project and others, and we started making them focus on worker issues. We weren't elected officials, but we started causing some noise. And so, you know what it takes on a picket line. You know what it takes. It takes fucking fighting, making a loud ruckus, and making sure they know that we're here and we're not going anywhere. So definitely, don't be afraid to do that, and definitely take that first step into any kind of public service, because that's where all the decisions are made.
Amazing. So I'll wrap up by saying thank you. Thank you to the three of you for stepping up. There are many other union members who are going to be on the ballot in 2026. Shout out to them. Keep an eye out. Go out and make a friend with them and support them along the way. But yes, thank you all for sharing your journeys, your challenges and advice. The path from union member to a candidate is not easy, as y'all shared, but your experience shows that the power of a union value in politics is supposed to be in public service. So I hope everyone here is inspired by the work, resilience, and leadership these panelists shared and exemplify. So thank you, panelists, for this conversation.
Can
you
we
so much
add
for
one
having
more
us.
thing? Can we all give you, just each of us quickly, our
Yeah.
website so folks can check us out?
Oh my gosh,
So,
yes, of course.
I'm hendricksfortexas.com. Please check it out. Give $1, give $5. Anything helps.
Mine's joseloya.com. I got a real kick-ass video on there. Y'all need to check it out. joseloya.com. If you can't donate a whole lot, I just want your support. Get on there and follow our social medias, and also follow Marcos Velez.
Yeah, and mine's Rabel for West Texas. That makes a lot of sense. Mostly just follow me on social media, guys. If you guys want to, again, see what it's like in wind and some dirt and cattle and what that smells like. If you guys want to learn a lot about cotton too, I'll get you on that one. But go ahead and give us a follow. And again, thank you guys for your time and support and for bringing us up here.
This is great. Thank y'all so much.
Go on the other side so we can take a picture.
Yes, we're going to take a picture.
Just getting after and doing it, right? Nobody's, you just got to be able to get after and do it. Get out there and go after it. The other thing is I can't remember who said it or kind of referenced it. It's like this room, we are the experts in all those areas that these electeds are trying to understand. So we should be the ones making the decisions for all of our different trades, all of our different careers, all of our different paths. So the labor unions are the experts in the room, and there's no reason they shouldn't be sitting in these positions and running in these offices and winning these races. So we're going to help them get there. And again, so thank you to the panelists. Thank you for the work that you guys are doing and putting yourself out there. One thing that we have to do also is just thank their families, right? They all have that support system because it is hard to do it. It is hard to get out there as a candidate, and they have to have a support system backing them up and helping them get out there. So to their family, friends, and to their network, we want to thank them as well for the work that they're doing to help to get these guys out there in that. So again, thank you to the panelists. And as we go on to the next section of the show, we are excited to be bringing up the president and the president of the I lost my notes. Geez, I'm sorry. The president of the News Guild CWA. Come on, get up a little bit, get up a little bit. John Schlois, the president of the News Guild CWA. It is an honor to be able to bring him up here and thank him for making the trip down here. He's the News Guild CWA president, grew up in rural Arkansas and has found his way into journalism through college radio, where he started. In 2013, he joined the Los Angeles Times as a data and graphics journalist and was part of the group that organized the Times in 2018. He now lives in DC as the president, and during his tenure, we've seen a wave of journalists organizing across this country and in Texas. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to that as far as the new organizing. Journalists are coming together and starting to organize and realizing the power that they have, and that is because of the leadership of the president. From Dallas Morning News to Aliyah, to Austin American-Statesman, to the Texas Tribune and to the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Texas journalists are unionizing to protect the news that we rely on. Because I don't know about y'all, a lot of times it seems like that news that is out there isn't always happening, and that is being truthful. We know that these folks, these union members, are giving us the real deal and the truth that is happening out there day in and day out. So with that, again, we appreciate the president making his way down here, and it is a privilege and it is an honor to introduce News Guild President John Schlois.
Good morning. How we doing? It's so good to be here in Texas, even though there's this crazy storm happening right now. I grew up in a small town just across the way from here in rural Arkansas, a town called Harmony Grove, and don't make me do my Bill Clinton impersonation. Harmony Grove is more of an intersection with a couple of schools, a school and a couple of churches. And it was a little spot where a lot of working class and working poor folks tried to make a better life. And I didn't know anything about unions growing up in rural Arkansas, which is all too common for kids who grow up in the South. And that's a shame. But I found the union, or the union found me, in the ways that tens of thousands of workers across the United States are finding the union right now. Just over in Louisiana, I figured out what I want to do with my life. I was working at a small college radio station, moving CDs around and lighting up the microphone to announce the next punk rock song coming on the radio. It's pretty good. I had dyed my hair orange at the time, which was also a mistake, but I was also out in the community recording conversations with locals. I was trying to tell their stories and put them on the air, and that's when I realized I wanted to be a journalist. So I got my first full-time job and went back to my state of Arkansas. And I was 22, and I was making $28,000 a year to be the online editor of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette in Northwest Arkansas. And somehow I was a manager at 22 years old, which is a bit silly. I had 5 part-time staff. I worked so much. I worked like 80 hours a week, and no one ever told me about overtime. They just kind of took advantage of me. But I really loved the work because I love to find stories and uplift them and share them. And eventually I forged a path out west and got a dream job at the Los Angeles Times, and I got to tell really great stories and uplift really awesome people. I got to tell folks about like different neighborhoods voting different ways in elections and like really dig into that. I got to talk to people about what it was like to live right next to a freeway that was just spewing pollution. I also got to like do stories about Girl Scout cookies. Do y'all know that there are 2 different types of Thin Mints? Yeah, okay, well, I looked it up, and Austin is getting the wrong end of the stick here. Dallas actually has the better Thin Mints. I don't know. We need to get a hold of those Girl Scouts about that. But I got to write weird stories, and it was really beautiful. And when I was working at the Los Angeles Times, we were under threat from our bosses, the owners. There was a bunch of rich guys out of Chicago who didn't know the first thing about running a newsroom. And they kept changing the management below them, and new guys would walk in with new ideas to save the industry and make everything better. But things only got worse. The wages remained flat or went the other way with inflation. Our benefits got worse. At one point, we had 7 different healthcare options with massive deductibles. And finally, one day, the company announced in like a secret video that they were taking away our accrued paid time off. Because we didn't have a union, so they could just take any benefit away from us. And that accrued paid time off was what some of us were saving for a surgery. Some of us were saving to have a kid. Or some of us were saving in case we got laid off, thinking that that would come and we needed a little bit of a buffer if that happened. And the company just took it away because the rich guys, the billionaires, were just like, well, that's something of value, and let's take it away from the workers and let's keep it. So when that moment happened, my colleague Anthony, he said to me, we should form a union, and my reply was, yes. What is that, and how do we do that? And y'all, that was 9 years ago. That's how recent that was. And we unionized at the Los Angeles Times, which hadn't had a union in its 130-year history. So I found the union, or the union found me, in California, an Arkansas boy, a kid from a small town. But we couldn't stop there. We knew that we had a responsibility in Los Angeles to bring other people the union. And so over the last 9 years, we've won 264 organizing campaigns, bringing in 12,000 workers into our small little union. And y'all know it's not easy. It's not been easy for anyone in this room, has it? In fact, we are sitting or standing in the state where the phrase right to work was coined. Y'all know that? On Labor Day in 1941, an editor at a Texas newspaper coined the phrase right to work in a column pushing for a constitutional amendment that would allow anyone represented by a union to refuse to pay dues. 1941. And we all know that many states took up that legislation to fight workers. And that was funded by billionaires. That's right. And sadly, my home state of Arkansas was actually the first in the nation to pass a right-to-work amendment. And I got to tell you, Arkansas is never first in anything. Typically, we are second to last place, and the state motto is, thank God for Mississippi. True. But I will tell you that I was really proud that 79 years after that newspaper column, and 76 years after the state of Arkansas passed a right-to-work amendment, and 73 years after Texas passed it as a statute, the journalists at that newspaper unionized. I'm talking about the Dallas Morning News, y'all. I don't think they saw that coming. At the victory party, when we won our first contract, our photographer, Smiley Poole, looked out at his colleagues, and he said that every journalist in the newsroom had an important responsibility. Smiley said Dallas could not have won without the help of the rest of the union and the rest of the state. And he told his colleagues that it was now time for Dallas to pay it forward. And he made the pitch for everyone to sign up and pay dues in a right-to-work state at the newspaper where the bosses had coined the phrase. And today, I'm proud to tell you that 95% of the journalists at the Dallas Morning News pay dues, and they pay it forward to the rest of us. Not only with the portion of their paychecks, our members in Dallas organized alongside our members at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and here at the Austin American-Statesman. They were all organizing at the same time. And their fight helped others in Texas realize that, you know what, they could organize too. And so then the journalists at the Texas Tribune and the San Antonio Report also organized. And Smiley, our photographer in Dallas, he told his colleagues at the victory party, we are one group. We are not on an island by ourselves across the table from management beating our heads against the wall. We are really one group. And that's what a union is. That's what the labor movement is. And I know it can feel like we're beating our heads against the wall and we're alone, but we're not. We're not alone. When we had our first open-ended strike ever at a newsroom in the state of Texas, everyone in this room, including the Texas AFL-CIO, stepped up to support our journalists at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. So thank you for that. Thank you for paying it forward to them so that they could pay it forward to the rest of us. And we've helped thousands of journalists organize across the entire continent, and that's changed the way that we journalists cover the struggle of workers. When workers, like journalists, go through a fight of organizing, a fight of bargaining, a fight of collective action, and a fight of striking, it wakes us up. That collective action fuels us. It centers us. And the thousands of recently organized journalists across the United States have become better journalists for it, because we now have been through the fight ourselves and struggled and won. And today we are witnessing a fight that makes us feel like we are beating our heads against that wall that Smiley talked about, a fight funded by billionaires. And we have a moment now that will decide whether we fall apart or whether we're able to build a fight and fight back and stick together and build something new. We are witnessing Guild journalists and CWA journalists who are reporting on the concerted and targeted and violent US government attacks. Just a few minutes ago, there was news that a reporter was pepper sprayed in the face for covering protests in Minnesota. And at the same time, there was news that federal agents had just murdered another person in Minnesota for observing ICE and DHS. This is an attack on working people. This is an attack on unions. This is an attack on our neighbors and our family and our friends. What's clear is that billionaires feel emboldened, and billionaires got rich because they stole from us, right? These billionaires, they feel emboldened to steal more from us now and make themselves richer. And billionaires, on behalf of billionaires, mass government agents are knocking down doors and taking workers captive, taking our members captive. I have a member right now from Minnesota sitting in one of these camps over here in El Paso, taken from his family, taken from his wife. He's a union steward that deserves dignity because he fights for other people. Fights for people in his neighborhood, fights for people in his workplace. Billionaires are the ones helping our government rescind workers' rights, end safety regulations, destroy healthcare protections, eliminate the agencies that are taxed to actually protect and enforce the law and support workers. They're attacking our right to organize, crippling the NLRB, crippling OSHA, shredding the collective bargaining agreements and the union rights of millions and millions of workers right now. Our union, the News Guild and the CWA, has seen its hard-won right to organize workers in the microchip and semiconductor industry rescinded. And the good union jobs that CWA secured as part of a build-out of wind power have been destroyed. Money fought and won that would force equitable build-out of gigabit fiber internet was not exactly rescinded entirely, but it was redirected to Trump's favorite billionaire, Elon Musk. Crappy internet service beamed down from soda cans in the sky. Elon Musk wants us all to use Starlink, controlled by a billionaire who can decide to turn it on or off depending on how high on ketamine he is. Our higher education workers are under siege as the promise of academic freedom is eliminated, and CWA nurses are seeing safe working conditions eliminated, safe staffing levels rescinded, and many rural hospitals see the promise of health care for their community rescinded as Medicaid cuts close the only place to get stitched up in miles. And billions have been pulled from public media where our members work, where many of us get our news from PBS and NPR. Funds for Voice of America, which was actually started by Republicans. And Radio Free Asia, we've had members there. Those funds have been pulled and those jobs have been lost. And so we have to fight back. In the courts and on the shop floor and in the streets. Our union and unions all across the country are best equipped to fight these billionaire bullies and bosses. And we know what a boss fight looks like. Y'all know this. We know every time we bargain a contract. We don't just beat our heads against the wall, right? We beat them by filing grievances. If you've won just cause protections in your contract, you beat the boss. If you've increased pay, you've taken money out of their wallets, right? It's our money. They want to take it from us. We bargain to limit surveillance so that we can do our jobs without being watched by some creepy boss or some AI robot trained by a billionaire. We force them to show just cause before they discipline or discharge us. And we organize, y'all. We march on the boss. At the Guild, we have some experience fighting billionaire bullies and rich guys, like our recent strike in Pittsburgh. We were on strike for 1,132 days, 3 years, 3 months, 1 week, against the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. It's owned by a couple of rich guys out of Ohio, and those guys broke the law. They took away our health care and they ripped up our contract. And we knew what we had to do in that moment. We had to stand up, fight back. We walked out of that newsroom and we held the boss to account. We picketed the publisher's wedding reception, was quite fun. And we protested at the editor's house. We had our inflatable rat, Scabby. He was running around and chasing the boss wherever he popped up. And along the way, we kept winning in court. Finally, just this month, we won when the US Supreme Court refused to issue a stay to stop an injunction against that boss. And now these bosses are actually looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines for being in contempt of court. And that's wild, y'all, to think that the Supreme Court's doing anything decent these days. But it did. There was a moment when we walked back in at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette in November after we got our court victory. And our local president, Andrew Goldstein, who we affectionately call Goldie, grabbed the microphone to a crowd of about 150 supporters out in that room. Steelworkers were there, SEIU was there, AFT was there, CWA was there. And Goldie talked about that strike for more than 3 years. And he said, quote, "Journalism has been called the first rough draft of history. But journalists don't set out to make history themselves. Our job is to seek truth, to hold power to account. Our job is to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted." And Goldie said, "We sought truth. We held power to account. We afflicted the comfortable, and we comforted the afflicted." And he reached into his pocket, and he pulled out a pen, which is the weapon of journalism and of free speech and of a free press in this country. In fact, it's a pencil and a wrench that are on this logo for this convention right now. And Goldie lifted that pen above his head in a closed fist, and he said to the crowd, "Take our pen, seek truth, hold power to account, afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted." And Goldie said, and he really yelled this, "Take our pen and fight!" And so at the Guild and CWA, we're launching a fight against oligarchy. We have a training where we're going to train every single one of our members in our union, because we have to get the word out and tell every union member who the billionaire bosses really are. Because billionaire bosses are stealing from us, and they're trying to control what we see and what we hear and how we live. They're gobbling up newsrooms right here in Texas, and they want to destroy outlets so we have fewer options to choose from. That's why we've been organizing as journalists. Together, we can make sure that we can report the news that you deserve, to bring you the truth of what's really happening in our world and in our communities and our neighbors and our state. And here in Texas, that's under threat. Last February, the Austin American-Statesman was sold to a company called Hearst, which is based up in New York City. And Hearst was founded by billionaires of their day, and those billionaires, they fought our unions, they fought journalists, they even fought the New Deal. And our journalists in Austin had organized and fought and struck over 3.5 years to win their first contract. And not 3 months later, Hearst announced that they were buying the place, and they obliterated our contract. And they started threatening our members and laying them off here in Austin. And then Hearst, they set their sights on the Dallas Morning News last July, announcing a takeover there. And shortly after they took over, Hearst moved to eliminate and offshore the entire copy desk to Canada in violation of our contract. Of course, we filed a grievance in ULP, doing collective actions. Let me tell you, as someone who worked in a small town newspaper in a southern state, we need local journalists here who live and are a part of our communities, who know who our football teams are, who know our street names and how to spell them. Sometimes can be a little difficult. And we need people who know our school boards and who are at our city council meetings, because journalists are the ones who are actually minding the stores. They're the ones holding our elected leaders to account. But Hearst, this corporate behemoth, it's trying to outsource jobs. Our journalists across Texas are fighting, and they need your help. We have 3 demands. Ensure that the news is produced and edited by humans, not robots, not AI, and agree to contract language that protects those journalist jobs here in the state of Texas. That every journalist should be able to be paid enough to be able to live in the communities that they cover. Finally, to respect the media workers of Texas. These are historic newsrooms. Abide by our collective agreements and follow the law and stop outsourcing and offshoring jobs to Canada from here in Texas. These jobs should stay in Texas. So delegates in all the Texas labor movement, please stand with our members here in Texas. You can scan, there's gonna be a QR code put up right there, and you can scan that QR code and you can send a letter to Hearst bosses right now. We have to stand up and fight these billionaires. And now, if you'll indulge a journalist, I have some questions for the room. Will you organize and help every worker in this state find and build a union? Yes. Will you continue to pay it forward so that we can build a fighting labor movement that makes sure every worker has a living wage? Will you fight for Texas? Will you fight for Texas journalists who seek truth and report it, who ultimately work for you? Will you join us and hold every boss and every billionaire to account? Then stand up! This is our labor movement. Built off the backs of generations of workers who struggled before us and won. Who fought billionaires, who dreamed big, who won. When workers are under attack, what do we do? When our neighbors are under attack, what do we do? When immigrants in our communities are under attack, what do we do? When journalists are under attack, what do we do? When Texans are under attack, what do we do? That's right, stand up
Fight back. Solidarity, no, yolidarity forever.